What happens when the owner of a restaurant chain pretends to be a busser for a week and catches a waiter quietly scamming old folks? It was a Tuesday morning when Jordan Ellis, CEO of a 17-location casual dining chain across 3 states, sat alone in his Denver office with a lukewarm coffee and a growing sense of unease. He'd bought the business 6 years ago from an older couple looking to retire. Back then, the charm had been in the details: warm service, real food, and tight operations. It had grown fast, but lately something felt off. Complaints were up, especially from the Fort Collins location. Not big things. Just off. A few reviews from elderly guests claiming they were overcharged. A suspicious number of comped meals. A high turnover rate. Jordan had never personally met most of the floor staff each location managed independently, and many hires came through district managers. He'd visited Fort Collins once, years ago, in a suit and tie. No one would recognize him. Not now. So he shaved the sides of his head, grew out a patchy beard, and threw on a pair of second-hand sneakers, black jeans, and a faded work shirt. He created a fake resume with a believable backstory: restaurant experience, just moved to town, looking for steady work. He used a friend's name to apply. They were desperate for help. Staff shortages had hit hard after 2 key bussers quit in the same week. Within 4 days, Jordan was hired as Eli trainee busser. No one questioned it. When he stepped into the Fort Collins restaurant that Friday morning, the first thing he noticed was the silence. The kind that crept in when people were too tired to talk. The hostess, a high schooler named Brianna, barely looked up. A server barked across the dining room. Eli grabbed table 12. They made a mess. Jordan nodded, grabbed a tray, and got to work. By noon, he'd cleared 30 plates, refilled 15 water glasses, and blended into the background. It was exactly what he wanted. The floor manager, Derek, was a wiry guy in his 30s with a clipboard he treated like a badge of honor. He didn't smile much. "You move fast," he muttered while walking past. "Don't start thinking you're special. We cycle through bussers like napkins." Jordan met a few of the servers. Most were just tired. One, a young woman named Leah, stood out. She was kind to customers, even when they were rude. She helped Jordan without being asked. When he dropped a whole tray of forks, she knelt with him and said, "Don't sweat it. We've all had rough starts." But then there was Chris. Chris was older than the rest, maybe in his 40s, sharp-looking, confident. He worked the lunch shift like he owned the place. Customers liked him, especially the older couples. He always smiled, laughed at their jokes, helped them with menus. But something didn't sit right. At around 1:15 p.m., Jordan cleared plates from table 7, an elderly couple, maybe in their 70s. The woman held her purse tight while her husband slowly stood up. He looked confused. "Did the pasta really cost $24? The man asked his wife quietly. "I thought it was 16, she whispered. Chris walked by just then and said, "Have a great afternoon, folks. Thanks for dining with us." Jordan followed him to the server station. "Hey," Jordan said, keeping his tone casual. That couple seemed confused about their bill. Chris didn't look up. Old folks always get confused. Happens all the time. Jordan pressed gently. "You sure that's what the menu says?" Chris finally looked at him. "You new here, Eli? Focus on clearing tables. Let me handle the rest." That night, Jordan couldn't sleep. He pulled up the customer receipts in the back office under the pretense of cleaning. The system showed the pasta rung up as market specialty $24. But there was no such item on the menu. Not anywhere. He checked 2 other elderly couples' tabs from earlier that week. Same trick. Different item names, always a few bucks more. It wasn't a mistake. The next day, Jordan quietly watched Chris work the same tactic again. He added chef's upgrade to a burger for an old man who'd clearly ordered off the regular menu. The man didn't notice. Jordan did. He also noticed Leah watching it happen. She frowned but didn't say anything. Later, as Jordan was wiping down the drink station, he caught her alone. "Hey," he asked, "does Chris always do that?" She hesitated. "Look, I've noticed stuff, but it's not my place to say anything. Derek thinks Chris is golden. He brings in good tips. So no one's reported him? To who? Derek? He'd sooner write you up than believe Chris is stealing. Jordan nodded slowly. Thanks for being honest. She looked at him. Why are you asking all this? Jordan forced a tired smile. Just hate seeing people taken advantage of. As she walked away, Jordan's heart pounded. He wasn't just angry, he was ashamed. This was his place. His name was on the lease. And somehow this had been happening under his nose. But he wasn't ready to reveal himself. Not yet. He needed to see how deep it went. And who else, besides Leah, had been watching it happen without saying a word? By Monday morning, Jordan had learned that the worst problems in his restaurant weren't just happening during peak hours, they were embedded in the culture. The staff didn't speak much between shifts. Everyone moved like they were counting steps to conserve energy. He'd worked 3 double shifts in a row now, and all he had to show for it were aching knees, 2 shirts permanently stained with grease water, and a notebook filled with mental red flags. At 9:45 a.m. he stood behind the line waiting for the prep cook to finish slicing onions so he could grab a tray of glassware. As he reached for it, a voice barked from behind. Get out of the way, Eli. You're not kitchen staff. He stepped back, letting the dishwasher through. The man didn't even glance at him. Jordan kept his head down and moved toward the front to start setting up the drink station. Leah was already stacking mugs, her hair tied back, eyes a little red. You all right? He asked. I'm fine, she said quickly. Just tired. He didn't push. She wasn't the type to complain. At 10:30, the first customers were seated. A couple of regulars, one of them in a wheelchair, rolled in and were greeted politely by Brianna, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. Derek was pacing near the pass window, clipboard in hand, tapping it rhythmically against his leg. Chris called out. He said to no one in particular. Again. Jordan glanced up. That makes 3 in 4 days. Derek narrowed his eyes. You keeping account? Just noticed. Looks like we're short again. Derek exhaled through his nose and walked off. By noon, the lunch rush had hit full blast. Orders piled up. The kitchen printer sounded like a broken engine. Leah juggled 5 tables while Derek hovered in the corner, adjusting his pen in his shirt pocket like that was his job. Jordan moved quickly, clearing dirty ramekins and wiping down booths between seatings. Sweat rolled down his back, and his knees screamed every time he crouched. At table 9, a middle-aged man was arguing with a server Jordan hadn't met yet. Her name tag read Sasha. She was new, maybe her 3rd day, judging by how often she paused to double-check the menu board. I asked for grilled chicken, not fried, the guest snapped. Sasha's voice wavered. I'm so sorry, sir. I'll get that fixed. Jordan leaned in to help gather the plate. I don't want it refired, the man added, glaring at Jordan now. Just take it away. I lost my appetite. Jordan nodded silently and carried the plate back to the kitchen. As he dumped it into the bus tub, he caught Sasha wiping her eyes with the back of her hand in the server alley. Rough table? He asked. She nodded, not looking up. He's been in before. Always like that. Did you tell Derek? She gave a short laugh. He told me to toughen up or find a different job. Said some customers are just like that. Jordan clenched his jaw. You're doing fine. Don't let him make you second-guess yourself. She blinked quickly and walked off without saying anything else. By mid-afternoon, the dining room had cleared out. Derek was in the office, likely writing up shift reports with numbers that didn't match reality. Jordan took the opportunity to check the receipt printer. He pulled 2 of the last lunch tickets, both from tables Leah had served, and scanned them. No mystery charges. No inflated items. He checked one Sasha had closed. It was correct too. He moved to the back office and peeked in. Derek was at the desk, eyes on the monitor. Jordan knocked on the doorframe. Derek didn't turn. What? Had a question about the comp policy, Jordan said. Saw a few receipts from last week with mystery items. Chef's upgrade. Market special stuff that's not on the menu. Derek still didn't turn. It's a promo we used to run. Chris still uses the codes. He knows what he's doing. Jordan stepped inside. But we're not running that promo anymore, right? Now Derek looked up. You a busser or an auditor? Jordan held his gaze. Just want to make sure the guests get what they're paying for. Derek leaned back in his chair. Chris pulls in the highest tips in this place. You think I'm gonna micromanage how he rings up a burger? So you're okay with him charging seniors $8 more for the same plate? Derek's mouth twitched. You don't know what you're talking about. Stay in your lane, Eli. Jordan gave him a slow nod and walked out. That night, he stayed after close. The only ones left were the kitchen crew and Leah, who was wiping down menus. Jordan waited until they were alone at the soda fountain. Do you trust Derek? He asked. Leah paused. He's not the worst. But he doesn't really protect us. If something goes wrong, he'll point fingers before asking questions. Has he ever backed you up? No. Not once. Jordan looked around to make sure no one was within earshot. I need your help, he said. I'm not who I said I was. Leah gave him a puzzled look. My name's Jordan Ellis. He saw it register. I own this place. She stared at him, stunned. He continued. I didn't come here to play games. I needed to see what was really going on. And now I know. He told her what he'd seen, what he suspected, how Chris had been manipulating the system and how Derek was doing nothing to stop it. Leah shook her head slowly. I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad. I need backup when I pull this out into the open, he said. I'm not firing anyone without full proof. Can you print me the next 5 shifts tickets from Chris's tables? Quietly. She looked hesitant. That could get me in trouble. I won't let it, Jordan said. And after this, things will change. I swear to you. She studied him for a long second, then nodded. All right, she said. But you better mean it. Over the next 3 days, Jordan kept his cover. He watched. He listened. He collected receipts that Leah quietly passed along. Every single one had overcharges, always for elderly guests. He took photos of each. On Thursday, Chris returned from his illness and jumped back into his routine like nothing had happened. Same charm, same act. He even winked at Jordan once during pre-shift lineup. That afternoon, a woman in her 80s was seated at table 4. Jordan knew what was coming. He kept close. Chris took her order, made small talk, complimented her scarf. When the bill came, Jordan watched him at the POS. He added house upgrade $5 to the entree. Jordan stepped forward. Hey, Chris. Mind printing a copy of that ticket? Chris blinked. Why? Just want to compare it to the menu. Something looked off. Chris chuckled. You don't need to worry about that, man. Guests don't even notice. Jordan's voice was calm. Print it. Chris huffed, pressed a button, and handed it over. Jordan scanned it, then turned to Derek, who had just stepped out of the office. Derek, we need to talk. Now. Chris laughed nervously. What's this, immunity? Jordan stepped back, pulled off his name tag, and tossed it on the nearest counter. I'm Jordan Ellis. I own this business. And I've got a stack of receipts that show you've been stealing from customers, and Derek's been looking the other way. Silence fell across the floor. Chris's face dropped. Hold on, you're done, Jordan said. Get out. He turned to Derek. You too. Office. Now. Derek stammered. You're making a mistake. No, Jordan cut him off. The mistake was trusting you to run a restaurant, not a scam. He walked past them both and into the office. Change had just begun. Derek stood rigid just inside the office doorway, arms folded, face pale. Jordan sat at the desk, receipt copies spread across the tabletop like evidence from a crime scene, which, in a way, they were. Chris was already gone. He hadn't said another word, just grabbed his things and left through the kitchen exit without looking at anyone. Jordan's voice was low but firm. You knew. Derek opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. Look, I didn't know the details. I figured he was bending things a little. Sure. But, no, you knew exactly what he was doing. You saw the receipts. You defended him. You actively dismissed a concern about him just 2 days ago. That's not being unaware. That's complicity. Derek took a step forward. This place runs lean, all right? He brought in solid tips. Guests liked him. You think I haven't tried hiring better people? You want warm bodies, or do you want staff who last more than a week? Don't talk to me about retention, Jordan cut in. People don't quit because they're afraid of hard work. They quit because they're not protected. Because they're treated like they're disposable. You had good people here, and you left them to clean up someone else's mess while you looked the other way. Derek shifted uncomfortably. So what, I'm fired? Jordan stood. You're done. Clear out your things. I'll have someone from HR in touch by the end of the day. For a moment, Derek looked like he might argue. Then his shoulders sagged. He nodded once and left the office without another word. Jordan exhaled slowly and sat back down. His hands were still resting on the evidence, but his mind was already turning to what came next. By the time he returned to the floor, the staff had heard. There was no way they wouldn't have word traveled faster in a restaurant than any formal announcement ever could. The room was quiet, but the energy had shifted. More alert, more uncertain. He walked past the server station without speaking and stepped into the break area where Leah was refilling her water bottle. She looked at him cautiously. So, gone, Jordan said. Both of them. She nodded once but didn't smile. What now? We clean up, he said. And we rebuild. He paused, then added, I need someone steady to help transition the floor. Someone who already has the team's respect. Leah raised her eyebrows. I'm not a manager. Not officially, he said. But you've been leading without the title. I'm not offering you full management, not yet, but I need you as acting shift lead. Just for now. Help me stabilize things. She hesitated. I don't know if the others will listen to me in that role. They already do, he said. You just haven't noticed. She didn't answer right away, but eventually gave a small nod. All right, I'll help. The next morning, Jordan arrived before sunrise. The building felt different now, not better. Not yet, but clearer. Like a fog had finally lifted. He met with the kitchen lead. A soft-spoken man named Arturo who had barely said 10 words all week. Arturo was polite but distant, always focused on the tickets, never the politics. Jordan sat across from him at the prep table. I need your input, he said. How's the kitchen holding up? Arturo glanced at the clock, then back at Jordan. We're down 2 line cooks. The prep list's been cut since last month. We're doing what we can. What do you need to do better? More prep hours, Arturo said. 2 more people at least. And whoever orders produce is buying garbage. We're throwing out too much. I'll fix the ordering. And I'll approve the new hours, Jordan said. But I need you to step up too. Quiet doesn't work anymore. If something's wrong, I need to hear it. Arturo nodded slowly. I can do that. Jordan spent the next hour reviewing scheduling with the assistant manager, a young guy named Marcus who had been hired just 2 weeks earlier and was clearly overwhelmed. When Jordan asked about training protocols, Marcus admitted there wasn't one, just a single-page printout and a few hours shadowing whoever was available. No one trained me to handle complaints, Marcus said. Derek told me to just keep the line moving. That's all he ever said. We're going to change that, Jordan said. But it's going to take a few weeks. Can I count on you during that time? I don't know everything, Marcus said honestly, but I'll show up. That's all I need right now. By the afternoon, Jordan called a full staff meeting. Not in the office, not in the break room, but right in the heart of the dining floor, chairs pulled from tables, everyone in street clothes or aprons, depending on their shifts. It was the first time they'd all been in one place at the same time without the pressure of guests. Jordan didn't stand on a chair. He didn't shout. He just spoke. I've been here for the last week. You've seen me wipe tables, carry trays, take out the trash. What I saw was a team doing its best under the weight of bad leadership and unchecked behavior. He looked around the room. That ends now. Some employees leaned forward. Others folded their arms. Leah stood near the server station, eyes steady. I'm not going to pretend this place is fixed. It's not. But I'm staying until it is. That means more support, better training, and a no-tolerance policy for anyone who takes advantage of our guests or our staff. He met their eyes one by one. Some of you were mistreated. Some of you saw it and felt like you couldn't speak up. I take responsibility for that. I should have been here sooner. There was silence. Then someone near the back Sasha raised her hand. What happens to people who tried to say something before but got ignored? Jordan didn't hesitate. You'll be heard now. If anyone retaliates, they're out. Period. A few heads nodded. Jordan stepped back. Leah's going to help lead the transition. You'll also see me around more often. Not just in meetings, but on the floor. If you've got ideas or problems, I'm listening. Arturo raised his voice. Can we start by fixing the produce orders? That got a few small laughs and Jordan smiled. Already in motion. After the meeting, Jordan stayed behind while most of the staff drifted back to their stations or left for the day. Leah lingered. You sure you're ready for this? She asked. No, he admitted. But I'm not leaving. She looked at him for a long moment. Then neither am I. That night, Jordan didn't go back to his hotel. He sat in one of the booths near the window long after closing, watching the empty street outside. The receipts were still in his backpack. He would send them to corporate in the morning, along with a full report. But for now he just sat. Not as the CEO. Not as Eli the busser. Just as a man trying to fix what he broke by not looking closely enough. And this time he wasn't going to look away. Jordan arrived at the Fort Collins restaurant just after sunrise, holding a clipboard of his own, now not as a prop, but as a working plan. The previous week had revealed everything he needed to know. What came next couldn't be a speech or a gesture. It had to be structure. Real, practical infrastructure. He stepped through the back door into the kitchen where the fluorescent lights buzzed softly and Arturo and two prep cooks were already chopping onions and portioning sauces. Jordan nodded to each of them and set the clipboard down near the walk-in. Morning, he said. Arturo wiped his hands on a towel. Produce got here 20 minutes ago. Avocados are green this time. Jordan gave a short laugh. Good start. Let me know if anything's still off. I've got the distributor's regional manager calling me at noon. He walked the floor next, checking in with Marcus, who was reviewing time cards on the office computer. The young assistant manager looked more alert than he had a week ago, still green, but steadier. Payroll's sinking clean, Marcus said. I caught 3 clock-outs that didn't register, but I fixed them. Jordan leaned against the doorway. How's the team responding to the changes? They're paying attention now, Marcus said. Not relaxed exactly, but no one's walking on eggshells anymore. It was a start. Not a solution, but a start. That afternoon, Jordan called in a regional trainer from one of the Denver locations whom he trusted implicitly, a woman named Tess who had run his pilot store for 4 years without a single labor violation or guest complaint worth remembering. She arrived just after 2, jeans and a denim jacket wrapped around her waist, holding a thick binder and a no-nonsense expression. He introduced her to Leah first. You're the one holding the floor together, Tess said. Heard a lot about you. Leah raised an eyebrow. Is that good or bad? Depends on if you're willing to help me fix this circus. I'll give you what I've got, Leah replied. Tess nodded once. That's enough. By the next morning, Tess had converted the back office into a training hub. She brought in laminated checklists, printed customer service flowcharts, and a whiteboard that now served as a rotating hub for shift notes, guest compliments, and system alerts. For the first time in months, the staff had tools. Jordan didn't hover. He worked the line again, only this time as himself. He bussed tables without a name tag, trained side by side with a new hire named Devin, and ran drinks when Sasha fell behind. He did it not to prove a point, but to earn back something he'd let slip, presence. Late Saturday night, as the last guests were leaving and the kitchen began winding down, Jordan pulled Arturo aside near the dish pit. Got a minute? Arturo nodded, pulling off his apron. I'm hiring another full-time prep, Jordan said. You'll help with the interviews. I want your read on them before I approve anything. Arturo's eyes didn't widen, but his voice was more certain than Jordan had ever heard. About time. There's more, Jordan said. I'm moving the produce ordering to your station. You'll submit your counts weekly. No middlemen. Arturo paused. You trust me with that? I should have months ago. Arturo nodded once and walked back to the line. He didn't say thank you. He didn't need to. The next week rolled in with fewer surprises. Chris didn't reappear. He'd been formally terminated. and HR had already contacted affected guests to refund overcharges. Derek's file was closed with cause, and a district-level audit had been scheduled for the following month to ensure no other locations had mirrored his behavior. On Tuesday, Jordan called a second team meeting, this time with a purpose beyond acknowledgement. The staff gathered again, this time with more upright postures, less hesitation. Jordan stood near the pass window, a printed packet in hand. "This is the new floor playbook," he said. "It's not a rulebook to punish anyone. It's a guide to protect you and our guests." He handed out copies. Tess stepped forward and broke the silence. "You'll see schedule protocols, report lines, and escalation methods in here. No more guesswork. If a guest is mistreated, if you're mistreated, you document it, you report it, and we act. No delays, no excuses." Jordan looked to Leah, who was now officially listed as floor lead with a pay bump and scheduled leadership training. "You're going to help us keep this place accountable," he said. She nodded. "Let's make sure no one else gets ignored." Eyes turned to Sasha, who had stayed quieter than most. She stepped forward. "I used to think bad guests were just part of the job," she said. "But it wasn't just them. It was how we were left alone to deal with it." Marcus added, "It's different now. People are asking questions. That never happened before." Jordan waited until the room settled. "I can't erase what happened," he said, "but I can make sure it doesn't happen again. And I can promise you this, I won't be a stranger in my own company anymore." As the meeting ended, no one rushed to leave. They lingered, chatting in small groups, comparing notes from the new handbook, joking about the new uniform guidelines Tess had posted. It wasn't celebration, it was relief, quiet and cautious, but real. Later that week, Jordan walked into the dining room during the dinner rush. The flow was smoother. Leah was working the floor with confidence, checking on servers mid-shift and adjusting seating without waiting for instructions. Devin, the new hire, moved with surprising ease, already anticipating table resets before guests had stood up. A couple in their 70s came in around 6:30. Jordan watched from table 12 as Sasha greeted them warmly, walked them through the specials, and made sure they understood their options. When the bill came, she brought it in a leather folio and waited patiently while the man reviewed it line by line. "No rush," she said gently. When the couple left, they stopped near the host stand. The woman turned to Brianna, who had recently been promoted to lead host. "I haven't been treated that kindly in a restaurant in years," she said. "Please tell your staff we noticed." Jordan didn't say anything. He didn't need to. That night, after close, he stayed behind again, not in silence, not brooding, but meeting with Tess and Marcus to review next week's hiring schedule. Arturo joined briefly to confirm the prep crew's needs. Before he left, Jordan found Leah near the drink station, wiping down the counter. "You holding up?" he asked. "Better than last month," she said. "You ever think about running your own place one day?" She looked at him, surprised. "Not really. I've never had anyone ask me that." "You should." He didn't elaborate. As he walked out into the cool night air, Jordan thought about the first day he'd walked into that restaurant as Eli the busser, his knees sore, his pride dented, and his vision of the company cracked open. He'd gone in looking for answers. What he found was a mirror, not just of what the business had become, but of what he'd allowed it to become by stepping back too far for too long. Now, with the mirror whole again, he wasn't walking away. He was walking back in.